God bless America. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Protege program. You are watching the second video for today where we're talking about the DOJ suing the state of California. If you missed it, make sure you catch my video on the alleged blue wave that was supposed to hit Texas yesterday in their primary election. That should be live right now. What we're talking about now, of course, is the news that the Department of Justice is going to be suing California over sanctuary state laws. Following on the heels of ICE raids in Oakland that were somewhat thwarted by the mayor, Jeff Sessions announced that the DOJ would sue the state of California over 3 sanctuary state laws. I want to look at those briefly before we continue making comments. Let's see if I can find it very quickly. There is one. One of those laws offers additional worker protections against federal immigration enforcement actions. Senior Justice Department officials said it's prevented companies from voluntarily cooperating with immigration and customs enforcement officials. Now, yes, there it is. This is the rest of the law. Employers are mandated under the law to demand ICE agents present a warrant or subpoena before entering certain areas of the premises or accessing some records. Another law is the sanctuary state law. It protects immigrants without legal residency by limiting state and municipal cooperation with feds, including what immigration can be shared about illegal immigrant status. The third law gives state officials the power to monitor and inspect immigrant detention facilities, which is to say that it gives state officials supremacy over federal immigration detention facilities. Now, state officials have been claiming the 10th Amendment protects their jurisdiction in enacting and compelling state officials to follow California law and not federal law. Now, just in case you didn't know, the 10th Amendment doesn't actually say that the states are protected from being compelled to enforce federal law. The 10th Amendment says that all rights not enumerated directly to the federal government by the Constitution are by default in the hands of the states. Now, the 10th Amendment goes largely ignored in our in the current iteration of our government. For better or for worse, thanks, in my opinion, to the outcome of the Civil War, we live in a federal supremacist government. Even if the 10th Amendment said that states did not have to enforce federal law, the people, I think, would be accepting of the Fed overruling the state, especially on an issue like federal sovereignty, state sovereignty. And when I say state, I mean the United States of America, not the state of California. There's also an interesting precedent in the case of a state writing its own immigration law. Some of you might remember the state of Arizona writing a law that gave state officials in Arizona the power to enforce federal immigration law. It's kind of the opposite effect of what we're seeing in California. In California, laws have been passed giving state officials the power to ignore federal immigration law. In Arizona, this was during the Obama administration, a law was passed that gave state officials the power to enforce federal immigration law. Now, the Obama DOJ also sued the state of Arizona. They sued the state of Arizona and said, you don't have the right to enforce federal immigration law because it's federal jurisdiction. And the courts came down on the side of the federal government. Now, with that precedent in place, that it is not the state's place to enforce or overrule, overrule is actually the right word for it. The Obama administration was not enforcing federal immigration law, de facto repealing that law. The Arizona legislature then tried to overrule federal immigration law by passing their own state laws. The Trump administration is trying to, with much greater zeal, enforce federal immigration law. And the state of California has attempted to overrule federal immigration law by passing state laws. Therefore, California is in the exact same position as the state of Arizona was back when they were passing their immigration law. The difference is, of course, that we have a media on the side of the state of California and not on the side of the state of Arizona. The difference also is that we're in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is heavily liberal, the most liberal circuit court in the nation. They are much more likely to side with the state of California on this issue, therefore pushing the issue to the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court does something interesting, which would be to interpret the Constitution and see if the federal government has the authority to pass immigration law that would be supreme over the laws of the states. If they were to look into the Constitution and find that the federal government does not, in fact, have that authority, the Supreme Court may end up siding with California over states' rights, not over immigration, which would be very interesting. And on this particular issue, this might be the only issue where the left is arguing for states' rights and the right is arguing for federal supremacy. Now, when it comes to immigration into the country, if you want my opinion, if it's not enumerated in the Constitution that the United States, that the federal government has the right to establish and enforce its national border, then it ought to be. Because if it's not, then it would be up to the individual states to establish and enforce the national border, which could undermine the sovereignty of the federal government of the United States. There ought to be a single immigration law for the entire Republic of the United States of America, rather than, say, Texas be less accepting of illegal immigrants and California being more accepting. They should both treat illegal immigrants the same. Now, if it's not enumerated in the Constitution, then currently it ought to be in the jurisdiction of the state of California to decide how they're going to handle illegal immigration. But that's the reality in an ideal world. We're not living in an ideal world. We're living in a world where the 10th Amendment has been de facto repealed by the prevailing political thought that the federal government is supreme over the governments of the states. So I think it's very interesting questions that are going to surround this process as the government attempts to sue the state of California. Not really sure what to say other than that, so I would love to hear your thoughts, especially on this issue. I forgot to say as much, but if you have anything to say about the potential blue wave coming in November and whether or not the Texas primary was a harbinger of that alleged blue wave, let me know in the comments of that video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the DOJ suing California in the comments of this video. If you enjoyed either one or both of the videos and want to see more content, leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Notifications are important, especially for times when multiple videos are going to come out in a single day, because I'm just usually publishing one video at a time. Now, for notification purposes, this video might go live after, and it would be a half an hour after the Texas primary video. But right now, thinking about making sure these both go up at the same time. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for a video on discussing the possibility of the end state of social justice and whether or not that is being represented in current South Africa politics. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you'll come back next time. Until then, good night and God bless.